Welcome back to some new PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? It's called New Phone Number. About 3 years ago, I got a new phone number. Little did I know, the previous owner, Christine, had left quite a bit of baggage behind with it. I started getting calls and texts from debt collectors, old friends, former flames, both male and female, and even family members. Christine, wherever she is, I hope she's doing better now. The debt collectors gave up after a few months, and eventually even the old flames stopped trying to reach out. But the real challenge was with her family, her personal appointments, and even her employer. At first, whenever someone reached out for Christine, I'd politely let them know she'd changed her number and asked them to update her details. People would say, "Oh, thanks, we'll let her know." But the calls and texts just kept coming. Appointments for doctors, hairstylists, nail salons, and even her boss still came through regularly. I started getting frustrated. I became more insistent when contacting medical offices, citing privacy concerns, and even became a bit of a nuisance to other services. Yet, Christine still hadn't updated her details. Eventually, I accepted the challenge. I decided that if Christine wouldn't change her number, I would start cancelling her appointments. If they called to confirm, I'd simply say, "Sorry, Christine won't be able to make it." Over time, she started updating her number, realizing that her appointments kept mysteriously getting cancelled. But the real kicker was when her boss texted, asking her to come in early for a special meeting. I did the only thing I thought reasonable at that point. I politely quit her job for her. The next day, I received a very upset text from her boss about how unprofessional it was, and I simply replied, "Get Christine to change her number." Shortly after, I got a very frustrated message from Christine herself. My response was simple: "Change your number, or I'll keep cancelling all your appointments." From that point on, I think she finally understood what was happening. A few more messages came through, but eventually the texts and calls stopped. The next story is called Lunch Thief. At my job, we had a community fridge where everyone would store their lunches. Most people were good about labeling their food, or at least labeling their containers. But it seemed like every workplace has a lunch thief, and ours was no different. Now, I've been a chef for most of my life, but I had recently taken a different job as I started winding down my career. Even though I was in a new role, I still enjoyed making myself nice lunches. But the problem with bringing good food is that it attracts more attention. And in this case, it attracted the attention of our resident lunch thief. I had a pretty good idea of who the culprit was. Let's just call him Michael. Michael, our office CPA, was on a streak of swiping lunches, and mine seemed to be his favorite. After days of watching my carefully prepared meals disappear, I decided to take matters into my own hands. So one morning, I made a nice big sandwich and spiked the mayonnaise with something a little extra. I grabbed some of my Trinidad scorpion pepper powder, made from some of the hottest peppers in the world, and mixed it into the mayo. It was fiery. I put my lunch in the fridge like usual and waited. Right around the time everyone was getting ready for lunch, I checked the fridge, and sure enough, Michael had taken the bait. Not long after, as I walked past the bathroom, Michael's preferred lunch spot, I heard some not so pretty sounds. The poor guy was in there, suffering, feeling a little bad, but mostly satisfied. I poked my head in to check on him. There he was, red-faced, eyes watering, and barely able to speak. "Are you alright?" I asked with as much concern as I could muster. He mumbled something about not feeling well, and said he might need to go home. And sure enough, he was out the rest of that day, and the next. To my knowledge, that was the last time he took someone else's lunch. The third story is called My Software. I worked for a company for 6 years that hosted a lot of members only and public events. Eventually, I was put in charge of promoting these events, which meant a lot of designing and creating promotional materials. To make my job easier, I installed my own software, Adobe Photoshop, Acrobat and InDesign, on my work computer. These were expensive professional tools that I had paid for myself, before Adobe's Creative Cloud subscription service even existed. I never asked the company to reimburse me, because using these programs made my job a breeze. Fast forward a couple of years. The company was sold, but my job remained the same. That is, until one day when the general manager and HR came into my office. They told me that, due to a business slowdown, I was being laid off. Effective immediately. I stayed calm and said, "Okay, let me grab my things and I'll head out." All I wanted were a few stuffed animals sitting on my monitor, gifts from members and my husband. But the GM told me, "No, we'll get them to you later." They forgot to revoke my remote access, so I logged into my workstation from home and simply uninstalled my personal copies of Adobe Photoshop, Acrobat and InDesign. I didn't touch anything else. I left all my files in place for them to use. Then I waited. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the assistant GM, who had taken over my duties. She needed to finish the artwork for a project I had been working on, but was having trouble opening the files. I asked her when I could get my personal belongings back. She brushed it off with us soon, so I told her to either buy the proper software or look for open source alternatives and figure it out from there. A few days later, I finally received my stuffed animals. About a month after I was laid off, I ran into the GM while grocery shopping. By then, I had found a new, better job, and I was generally happy. After we exchanged pleasantries, I thanked him for letting me go. The next story is called No More Cheesecake. My friends, M and B, are both super talented cooks. B is actually a chef, and M is working towards her PhD, but loves to cook as well. They are both awesome people with incredible skills in the kitchen. They had a client named Karen, who owned a well-known coffee shop in their city. Karen used to buy cheesecakes from M&B every week, because their cheesecakes are the best. At first, Karen would buy 1 or 2 cheesecakes every now and then, but soon she was ordering 4 or 5 a week. Her customers couldn't get enough of M&B's cheesecakes. Karen even tried to replace their desserts with others, but quickly realized nothing else came close. Despite her attempts to replicate the magic, even with some helpful tips from M&B, she just couldn't do it. Normal people would want to maintain a good relationship with such amazing suppliers, but not Karen. Instead, she constantly complained about the cheesecakes, clearly hoping to get discounts or free products. Whenever prices had to go up due to rising ingredient costs, Karen would get upset, even though the price was more than fair, if not a little low. One time, Karen sent a picture of her cheesecake with all the jam on the side, claiming it arrived that way, or somehow shifted overnight. But M&B always delivered their cheesecakes in person with transparent covers, so the only logical explanation was that one of Karen's employees, or Karen herself, tipped it over and wanted a free replacement. M&B didn't fall for it and refused to replace the cheesecake, knowing it wasn't their fault. Another time, Karen complained about finding a hair in one of the cheesecakes. Now, M&B are extremely clean and careful in their kitchen, especially B, who is almost obsessively hygienic. Even so, M apologized and thanked Karen for letting them know, promising to be extra mindful in the future. The finest straw came when M&B made a delivery to Karen's coffee shop, and all of her employees gave them dirty looks, whispering that they weren't allowed to pay them until Karen arrived. They waited for about half an hour until Karen finally showed up. She then pulled out the hair she had supposedly found in one of the cheesecakes and lectured M&B in front of her employees, clearly trying to humiliate them. The hair wasn't even theirs. M has long, straight brown hair, and B has short, thick, dark, curly hair. The hair Karen showed them was blonde, thin, and curly. To make matters worse, M&B noticed that none of Karen's employees were wearing hairnets, and there was a big golden retriever lounging in front of the kitchen doorway. A cute dog for sure, but definitely not something you want in a food prep area. M&B was stunned, but kept their cool, collected the payment, and left without a word. The next time Karen tried to place an order, M&B simply told her, "Business is now closed. Sorry for the inconvenience." Karen freaked out, demanding to know why they didn't warn her sooner, but M&B left her on red. No further explanation needed. The last story is called April Fool's Firing. I work at a small firm in the southern states. Our office has about 20 people and we are a pretty laid-back bunch. We play trivia, mini-golf inside, and can even watch videos while working. It's a chill environment, to say the least. I'm 25 and have been working here for about a year. Phil, one of my coworkers, has been here for 6 years. Our office recently started expanding, hiring more people, including some minorities, myself being one of them. A few of the new hires are Hispanic, and their primary language is Spanish. Now, Phil is an older, very traditional guy, 58, white, and extremely religious. As the new hire started, Phil's attitude took a turn. He was especially rude to the Hispanic employees. I tried to be nice to Phil when he spoke to me. He seemed pretty lonely. I thought maybe Phil's mental health was taking a toll, so I gave him some grace. Our HR department also tried to handle the situation gently, considering him a valuable asset to the company. So the boss told Phil not to talk to anyone, unless it was strictly work-related, thinking his comments were just small talk. Fast forward to the week before April Fool's Day. I had a light-hearted prank planned for a coworker who often naps at his desk. I bought a little multi-picture frame and was going to put photos of him sleeping in it and display it on my desk for all to see. We are good friends, so I knew he'd find it funny. But when I came in the next morning, my prank had been hijacked. My frame was filled with Happy Easter messages, courtesy of Phil. Now, I'm all for celebrating Jesus, but that was my frame on my desk, and I wasn't too thrilled about someone messing with my stuff like that. After giving it some thought, I decided to pull a small, harmless prank on Phil. That night, I placed a tiny piece of paper between the battery and the connection in his mouse, so it wouldn't work. It was meant to be a little joke, nothing serious. The next morning though, things escalated. Phil came in with little evidence bags labeled with red marker, containing the mouse, the battery and the piece of paper. He stormed into the boss's office, accusing one of the Hispanic co-workers he'd argued with in the past. He was calling him a liar and using all kinds of profanity. You could hear Phil through the closed doors. At that point, I went to the boss and told him it was me who pulled the prank, explaining the situation with the frame from the day before. My boss was cool about it and just asked me not to mess with Phil again. But Phil didn't let it go. He was still convinced it was the Hispanic co-worker, and even accused a few others of being accomplices. The arguments got heated, and by the end of the day, Phil was fired. After his firing, Phil made some pretty serious threats. We had to lock the doors for a few months and take extra security measures, which was definitely not something any of us expected from a harmless prank. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.